We often look at these huge success stories, you know.
Yeah, the sort of overnight sensation idea.
Exactly. It's the instant win. And we think, okay, that's how greatness happens. Cinderella story, right?
But the reality is usually quite different. It's rarely that clean, that direct line from A to B.
It's almost always got this challenging journey tucked inside it, often one we don't even see, a real transformation process.
A profound one, yeah.
And that transformation, that's exactly what we're getting into today on this deep dive.
Okay.
Our mission, if you will, is to explore this really powerful idea we're calling development through deliverance.
Development through deliverance. I like that.
Basically, it's this truth that your deepest growth, your preparation for whatever your purpose is, it often happens through life's toughest stuff, not by avoiding it, but right in the middle of it.
And for this, we're drawing on some really powerful insights from a sermon. It's actually titled Development Through Deliverance.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, by Reverend Lettie Carr. It was delivered at the Voice Church in Laurel, Maryland. You can find it on the Whosoever Believes YouTube channel. Really rich stuff.
Sounds like a great source.
Yeah.
So to kind of frame this, we're going to use David's journey. His life story is such a clear example.
Absolutely. Think about the bookends of his story, you know?
Right. On one side, you've got King Saul, just consumed with jealousy, actively trying to kill David.
Yeah, it's intense. 1 Samuel chapter 20, Saul literally tells Jonathan, his own son, about David, he shall surely die.
Just like that. A direct threat.
A desperate kind of evil plot against someone who hadn't really done anything wrong to deserve it.
And then you flip to the other end, the other bookend. David's finally anointed king over Judah in Hebron. That's in 2 Samuel chapter 2.
And he's surrounded by loyalty then. People who respected him, even people who honored Saul after his death. A completely different picture.
It's that triumphant moment we love, right? We see the big highlight reel, like David taking down Goliath.
Yeah, the blockbuster moments.
And we think that's the whole story. But the real, the greatness, the character, the resilience, all that stuff gets forged in the middle, in that unseen part of the journey.
That in-between time.
Exactly.
Huh.
Remember, David was just a kid, a teenager, tending sheep when Samuel first anointed him.
God looking at the heart, not the outside. Even his own father, Jesse, didn't initially, put him forward.
Right. So the big question we're wrestling with today is, what actually happens in that time between getting a promise or maybe a revelation from God and seeing it actually come to pass?
That gap, that in-between.
Yeah, that's where the enduring happens, the growing, the experiencing things that shape you. That's the preparation zone.
It really is.
And this is so important for all of us, I think, because it reframes hardship.
How so?
Well, difficulties aren't always because you messed up.
Yeah.
Sometimes it seems God allows them to perfect you, to strengthen you.
Like building muscle.
Yeah.
You need the resistance.
Precisely. Muscles only get stronger when they strain against something. And faith, real faith, it isn't truly forged until it's tested.
Makes sense.
That's why there's that idea to count it all joy when you face trials, because those trials, they perfect your faith, make you mature, complete, ready for your purpose.
And Reverend Carr really emphasizes David's personal connection with God through all this.
Yes, that was his, bottom line. Knowing God's there, always present. That's what gets you through the chaos.
That becomes your anchor when everything else is shifting.
Totally. So let's dive into the first big insight from Reverend Carr. It's a challenging idea, kind of paradoxical. She calls it, God indulges the plots of the enemy towards you.
Indulges the plots. That's interesting phrasing.
It is, isn't it? The idea is that God actually allows attacks to come your way, even when you've done nothing wrong.
Right. Look at David again. He was doing everything right for Saul, serving him well, married his daughter, he'd beaten Goliath.
Saved the day, basically.
Yeah, and yet, boom, Saul suddenly turns on him. No real valid reason.
So it wasn't about David failing.
No. Reverend Carr points out that sometimes just doing what God calls you to do, that's what qualifies you for an attack. It's not about your imperfection.
Wow. Okay, so what's the purpose then? If God allows these devilish interruptions, as she calls them, what's the point?
Well, the idea is it's not for your ultimate harm. It's actually to make you depend solely on him.
Shifting your reliance.
Exactly. Away from people or your position or your own cleverness.
Yep.
Back to God as your protection, your strong tower, deliverer, shield, refuge, all those things.
It forces that reorientation.
Totally. And we're told that many are the plans of a man, but it is God's purpose that will prevail.
So the attacks might come, but they don't ultimately succeed against God's plan.
Right, and there's that promise too, no weapon formed against you shall prosper.
Which doesn't mean weapons won't be formed.
Exactly. They will be formed, but they won't ultimately win. Reverend Carr puts it like this. If God didn't let a Goliath show up, how would you know he's greater than a Goliath?
Good point.
Hmm.
The challenge reveals his power in your situation.
Yeah. The enemy attacks, but isn't triumphant. It reminds me of what the Apostle Paul said about being, hard-pressed on every side, yet not crushed.
Perplexed but not in despair, persecuted but not forsaken, struck down but not destroyed.
Yes. Because God is with us through it all. These aren't just setbacks, they're setups.
Setups for God to show his strength. That's a really powerful way to look at it. And it leads us right into the next big point Reverend Carr makes, something that definitely shook David's world. God intrudes on your place of comfort.
Oh, yeah. He absolutely will interrupt your nice, comfortable program, shake you right out of complacency.
And David's life is the prime example, isn't it?
Totally. Overnight, everything changed. He went from the palace king's table, nice baths, warm bed, probably smelled good.
Yeah, the perks. Leading the army, best friend Jonathan, new wife.
All the comforts, to living in a cave filled with, as Reverend Carr puts it so vividly, funky men.
Funky men. I love that description.
No buffet there, sleeping on rocks. I mean, and talk about a drastic lifestyle change.
Imagine that whiplash.
Yeah.
So Reverend Carr explains this intrusion isn't punishment. It's actually meant to drive you towards your purpose.
To perfect you somehow.
Yeah, make you stronger, wiser, force you to focus squarely on God. Because comfort, well, it can make us complacent, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. Stops you from growing? Maybe you let your prayer life slide or stop studying because, hey, everything's good.
Right. There's a historical example she brings up, too, with the disciples.
After Jesus ascended.
Yeah. They were told to go, to the ends of the earth, be witnesses. But they stayed kind of comfortable there in Jerusalem.
Until persecution hit.
Exactly. It took persecution hitting Jerusalem to scatter them.
Yeah.
And that's what ultimately led to the gospel spreading everywhere. Sometimes you need that shakeup.
God nudging them out of the nest, so to speak.
Totally. And this theme really hit home with Reverend Carr's own story. She shared this personal anecdote about her time as a lawyer.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
Well, she'd made partner at her firm, big clients, making really good money. She said $125,000 back in 1995, which was huge money then.
Wow. Yeah, that's significant.
Just bought a new house, had a new baby. She was, her words, living large. Nice office building in downtown D.C., big picture window, the works.
Sounds like she had it made.
Right. But then she felt God had something else for her. And she sees this little teeny ad for a job at a prison.
A prison after that setup.
Yeah. Her first reaction was, and I love this phrase, the devil is a liar, that ain't my destiny. Like, no way is this God's plan for me.
I can understand that reaction, from a plush office to a prison.
She describes her first day there, this awful putrid smell she couldn't even identify. Dirty floors, tiny office, old desk, tiny chair, an old-fashioned phone.
And let me guess, no window?
No window at all. Total opposite of her downtown view.
Wow, that's a stark contrast.
But she had this profound realization. God had called her to be a healer, a deliverer, someone who makes disciples. And she couldn't do that from her, quote, little ivory tower.
She had to get out of her comfort zone to fulfill that specific calling.
Exactly. And get this. After 22 years working in that prison environment.
22 years.
Yeah. She eventually moved on to work at the White House.
No way. From the prison to the White House.
Yeah. Which really underscores the point. God can move you from what feels like a war zone to a place of major influence. But she said, even at the White House, the core mission didn't change. It was still about telling people about Jesus.
That's incredible. And it really speaks to the growth factor, doesn't it?
Totally. Reverend Carr stresses that those hardest places, the most difficult assignments, they cause the most growth because they stretch you like nothing else.
It's like she said, it's when you're walking through hell that you really know God is with you. Not just intellectually, but like in your bones.
Yeah, you experience it.
Yeah.
She mentioned David writing psalms like, the Lord is my shepherd, not from the palace armchair.
No, he wrote those out in the wilderness, in the struggle. Experience is the best teacher.
Yeah. Absolutely. You can't fake that kind of depth that comes from the trial. Which brings us beautifully to our final theme today. It's a real reassurance. God aligns the people assigned to you.
This is the comforting part. You're not alone in this process.
Not at all. God doesn't just throw you into the fire and walk away. He assigns people, specific people, and brings them into your life to support you right when you need them.
Divine connections, people showing up at just the right moment. It proves that God's plan always includes his provision, sometimes through the most unexpected allies.
Look at David again. When he was on the run, in distress, who gathered around him? About 400 men.
And what were they like?
1 Samuel 22 says they were guys who were also in distress, in debt, and discontented. Reverend Carr called them broke, busted, and disgusted.
Haha, not exactly the A-team on paper.
Maybe not. But they became fiercely loyal to David. He became their captain. They were his core group.
And then there's Jonathan, Saul's son.
Right. Jonathan actively went out, found David hiding in the woods, and the scripture says he went to strengthen his hand in God.
Wow. Reminding him he'd still be king, and that Jonathan himself would be second, going against his own father's wishes. That's a divinely appointed friendship, if ever there was one.
Absolutely defied the circumstances.
Yeah.
And don't forget David's mighty men.
Oh, yeah, the story about the water.
Exactly. 3 of them risked their lives, broke through the enemy Philistine lines, just to get David a drink of water from the well back in Bethlehem, because he'd mentioned longing for it.
That's just incredible dedication, not just soldiers, but deeply devoted.
It really shows, like you said, God has the plan,
Mm-hmm.
and he provides what's needed for the plan, including the right people. You don't have to beg or manipulate. If they're assigned by God, they'll come alongside.
Yeah, it's about trusting that provision will show up.
Reverend Carr shared her own stories about this, too. When she felt called to be a chaplain, she faced a lot of skepticism. People questioned her qualifications.
Because she was a lawyer, maybe?
Probably. But she knew God had called her. She said, you just can't wait for popular opinion. You have to move on the call.
And trust God will bring the support.
Yeah. Like when she started a church ministry later, she needed help.
Yeah.
And she said God simply reminded her of how Jesus called his disciples. Just come follow me.
Simple invitation. The right people, the assigned ones, they respond to that clear call from God working through you.
And get this story. During the pandemic, she started a prayer line. It grew, became a website, even a social media app. But she admitted she knew nothing about technology.
Okay, so how did that work?
God provided. A woman she called her daughter in the Lord just happened to get trained for free in all the internet stuff. She became Reverend Carr's tech support.
Wow. Just showed up with the needed skill.
Ran the whole website, set up everything technologically the ministry needed. Divine provision right there.
That's amazing.
And then the app started costing hundreds of dollars a month to run. She didn't know how they'd sustain it. People just started blessing the ministry financially, spontaneously. The money showed up.
God providing the resources for his work.
Exactly. And through that app, supported by people she didn't even know, they reached a man all the way in Japan.
Seriously? Japan?
Yeah. He gave his life to Christ through their online ministry and is now being discipled from thousands of miles away. It shows how God's provision enables his reach, even globally.
Incredible example of assigned people and resources coming together.
And it mirrors David's story, too, with Abiathar. Remember him, the priest who escaped when Saul massacred the other priests.
Ah, yes, because they had helped David.
Right. Well, Abiathar later joins David and serves as his chaplain. He's there to provide a word from God. He has the ephod, that priestly garment used to discern God's will.
So God provided David with exactly the spiritual guidance and connection he needed right there in the wilderness.
Precisely. It just shows that often the very things we think we lack, God has already assigned someone or something or is preparing to provide it.
We just need to recognize those divine connections when they show up.
Wow. What an incredible journey we've covered today. Just to kind of recap this deep dive on development through deliverance.
Yeah, let's pull it together.
The core idea is just so powerful. God develops you through the very trials he delivers you from, or maybe through the discomforts he allows you to walk through.
These experiences aren't just random hardships. They're forging character, they're deepening your faith, and they really prove God's hand is on your life, even when it feels chaotic.
Yeah. This whole deep dive is really about helping you, the listener, understand that your own path to purpose. It might very well involve these kinds of disruptions, challenges, and definitely unexpected allies showing up.
It's all part of the divine design, really, building you into who you're meant to become. It's not always comfortable, but it's purposeful.
So as we finish up today, here's maybe a provocative thought to leave you with, something to mull over for your own journey.
How might the discomfort or the challenge, or maybe even the attack you're facing right now, how might that actually be a critical piece of God's development plan for your life, preparing you, perhaps, for something far greater than you can currently imagine?